I'm interested in now establishing from you that going through that kind of trauma, how do you eventually cope with it on a day-to-day basis? You, right at the beginning, you said to me that the first 3 months of your daughter's life were the hardest on you. You know, you had to make the night shift. You had to do the early shift with her. You had to do the day shift. So there was no break from parenthood, so to speak. So how do you cope?
Like I said, when we started, I like that you're using the word cope, right? Because if somebody says you're doing well, they're lying, right? Nobody's doing well. You know, that first 3 months were torturous. I didn't know what to do. And there were times where I was so frustrated that I remember I was at my pastor's house and I was going down the stairs and I had made up my mind that I'm going to give the baby away to her grandparents so I'll visit her, you know. And when I came down the stairs, you know, that man saved my life so many times. I actually made an appointment with him so I can tell him. And then he looked at me and he was like, I was frustrated, you know. I didn't shave my hair. Everything was just a messenger, you know. I hadn't been sleeping for a long time. Sometimes I go to work and my daughter throws up on my shirt, you know, all those things. And when I came down the stairs, he looked at me and he said, "You're doing good, Neo," you know. And I went back upstairs. You know, I said, "Okay, let me give it one more time, one more
shot."
Yeah, you know. And I kept doing that. And the second month, they were telling me about the gripe waters that I need to buy, the baby's colic, whatever. I didn't know what that means. I bought all these kinds of medication, and sometimes I would give her all the medication, you know. And one night I said, "Yo," it was 2 a.m. I looked at the watch and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I was upstairs. And there was this window that I always like to leave it open. It's upstairs, nobody's going to come in. And I looked at that window and I walked towards that window. And I said, "Yo, today we are jumping." And have you ever felt that there's a cloud on your mind? Your mind is clouded at the back. There's this heaviness at the back and you can't figure it out. You're trying to think, but you can't think. You're trying to come up with reasons why you shouldn't. But all the reasons says, just do it. It will end everything, you know. I went close to the window and I said, me and my daughter are jumping right now, you know. And she was in my hands. I covered her with a blanket. And when I opened the blanket, babies don't smile. But when I opened the blanket, she smiled with those gums. And when she smiled, my strength was renewed again, you know. And all these years that I was angry at God for doing what he did, I remembered those moments that, you know what, God was letting me walk my journey. But when I had no strength, he was there to push me to say, come back, you can do this.
Interestingly, I was going to ask you about the suicides, because you document quite about it, that the loss of your wife led you to a point where you wanted to take your life. With my own experiences with suicide, you know, there would be voices telling me, do this, you know, end your life, take the medication. There's no way out of this. Has that also been your experience?
For me, it wasn't really voices, but I was clouded. Like my mind was blocked, man. It was clouded. I couldn't think much, right? The only thing I could see was an open window. And I wanted to go to it. Open window. And I tried to reason with myself.
But you could not get through to yourself.
I couldn't get through into my heart and my head. My head was clouded. It was like there's a cloud. And I could actually visualize the cloud that was in my head. You say, yo, I can't get to my thoughts. I can't get to my good side that's going to tell me, no, man, you can do this. I couldn't. It took only a smile to bring me back. You know, there were moments where I thought, you know, it could be easier. Somebody told me, don't worry, one day you'll see your wife again. And I said to myself, can I see her soon enough, right? You know, there were moments like that. But the moment that, you know, determines everything, my journey with that mild depression. I never took medication for depression, but I feel like I was at that point where postnatal trauma was transferred to me instead of the wife, because she wasn't there, you know. And yeah, it was.
So you experienced the depression and it set you on a course of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at yourself now, would you say that there is a difference in how you deal with adversity now?
Oh, yes.
Because adversities are the nature of life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, yeah. I'd say I think for the past 3 years, that's when I actually started dealing with my own life. So for 8 years, I didn't know where I was going. The whole 8 years, I was just zoomed.
On autopilot.
Zombied, yeah. I was just walking around on Earth. And if you ask me what happened 7, 6, 5, 4 years ago, before, like after she passed away, I don't remember nothing, you know. I was just cruising through life. And one moment somebody said to me, I'm going to say this. This is Christian, right? But I'm going to say it anyway because it happens even in churches, right? And I kept giving myself to women randomly, right? I tried to drink alcohol, and my friend said...
to numb the pain.
Yeah.
To cope.
I didn't go. I had money, but I didn't go buy alcohol myself. I went to my friends and asked them to buy for me, which was obviously a cry for help. If I wanted to do it, I would have just done it. When you're single and when you're in the right mind and you're looking for a girl, you don't find them. But when you're in that state, when you phone somebody, they say, oh, come. I would walk out with a BVD and go, because I had to stay in Nene. I would walk out with a BVD and drive there, you know, have sex, come back, and I will feel so much better. I will sleep, right? The next day, that thing is up again. I phone that person, yo, I'm busy, I can't. I phone another one. They agree, you know.
So it became a way of coping. You know, the promiscuity and, you know, numbing the pain as well. It's something that's quite familiar with me as well. It's something that I used as well as a coping mechanism. And it's a reality that I think the church also is not open, you know, to. It's not open to the fact that, you know, firstly, when it comes to mental health, even as the church, we tend to say, you're saved. You can't be depressed.
Yeah.
You know, you're saved. If a man is in Christ, he's a new creation.
It's a new creation.
You know, and you suffer a loss, pray about it. And you going through hardships. No, if Christ be for me, who can stand against me? But here is a mental challenge. You are living in it right now. Your mind is not saved.
That's why your mind needs to be renewed every day. and when we started, I said that the church doesn't know how to deal with it, because when you go to a brother in church and you tell them, dude, this is what's happening. This is where I find my 24 hours relief. And they tell you, yeah, man, read the word, fill your mind with the word. But you're telling him you have a problem. Fill your mind with the word. You know, but you go to him and you say, this is the only thing that helps, right? And for the whole 8 years of my life, and I tried to be normal. I tried to date somebody, you know, try to be normal. And dated the first person. It was good for a month, and I walked away from that. Another person, and an old lady said to me, dude, you cannot give people what you do not have. I can say you're trying to love them, but you can't, because you don't have love in you for that 8 years. And on the 9th year, I decided, no, I can't live like this. I started to look for me. Who are you? And I didn't even know how to answer that. When you asked me who I was that time, I would tell you about my job, what I do.
Yes.
I didn't know who I was, right? And I had to find that person. I had to sit down and ask myself, who's Neo? I stayed, man, without doing the things that I was doing that were setting me, you know, that were helping me cope. And I stopped doing them. And people came, they're like, yo, you're not dating. Yo, you're not having sex. Like, when you try to do something good, people will always come. And you must know that there's always adversity everywhere.
Can I ask you this? How did you start, you know, with the implementing the change?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, how did you start with finding you? Well, you know, just for someone out there who says, I don't know who I am. I want to find me.
Pen and a paper. And I wrote down there, who's Neo? Why is he here? Why did he lose a wife? Right? And in every pain, there is a purpose that we need to find. When I wrote those things on paper, and I looked at them for a long time, and I kept rewriting, who's Neo? Rewriting. I didn't move to the second one before I could answer that one. Who is Neo? Who is Neo? Who is Neo? Neo is a career. And those are the things that we answer when you go for an interview, for a job interview. They ask you, who's Neo? And you don't know. You don't know. Like, the journey of knowing yourself starts with the paper and a pen. When you're looking at on paper and you're trying to write, you ask yourself, dude, I don't know who I am. When you are in marriage, Sisintabi, your husband ties your shoes, right? I saw your husband tie your shoes. Sometimes you're looking in the wardrobe, you've got plenty of clothes, and you're looking there like, which one must I wear? Your husband comes and, oh baby, you look nice in this one, right? I remember she was working for one of the biggest financial agencies, and when I used to receive letters, I never read the letters. I just forwarded them to her email, right? And then she read them, and then later on she explained to me what the letter meant, right? We used to clean together because I loved playing PlayStation. I used to clean where I was sitting, and she would clean, and I would wash the dishes, and she would cook. You know, those were the things that we were doing together. So when you get married, you become one.
Yes.
When that one goes, you are split. Basically, if you're not careful, when she dies or he dies, you die with them. And for that whole 8 years, I died. And I was in the grave, and I couldn't get out.
Where are you in terms of your journey towards healing?
Oh man, I'm in a good place right now. So I always said that if I find the answer to does time really heal, I will write another book. And on the 11th year, it clicked on me. One morning, I was just sitting there, and I was listening to myself, and I was like, no man, I actually feel better. You know, I can go around and talk about it and not not cry anymore. But before, when I spoke about her to anybody, I cried. But on the 11th year, I was like, huh? I can think about her. I can talk about her. My daughter can ask me questions about her mom. I will answer them without, tearing, and it was a joyous moment for me. The anniversaries are still hard. Christmas is still hard. Sometimes my daughter wants to celebrate Christmas, and I'm like, I don't want to celebrate Christmas. We used to go this place in Christmas. I don't want to do it. I want to be in the house. I remember every December she used to ask me, Daddy, why am I the only one amongst my friends who doesn't have a mother? And I remember asking my mother that question when I was young. Why am I the only one amongst
my friends who doesn't have a father?
Doesn't have a father. I cried that day, and I was running into their house as I was crying. But my cry is just, it's somehow, she thought I was laughing. So she kept laughing and following me. And then I was running away from her, But I found that recently I'm able to have those conversations with her. I'm able to tell her everything. And when she does something, or maybe she gets teased about something at school, I will go back to her and like, this is how your mother was. You should be proud of it, And she would gain her confidence back. I'm able to make, when she does something wrong, I'm able to make an example about her mother. When she does well at school, I'm like, yeah, that was your mom. She won awards. My daughter wins awards at school. I'm like, that's your mom. So I feel that I can talk about her without crying. And that's how I know. I'm not going to say I'm healed. That's how I know that I've gotten to a place where I needed to be.
Does time heal your wounds? And your book is titled, Does Time Really Heal? Dealing with the loss of a loved one. It's been 11 years now. Have you healed? Are you healing?
I found my purpose. Right. And I'm never going to answer the question whether people heal or not. I don't know if people heal. I don't know if time heals people. Right. At the time I was asking the question on the book, I said it doesn't. But as I went, I realized that it's not about healing. It's about finding your purpose. My purpose is to go around South Africa telling people that it hurts now, but it's not going to hurt forever. If I could get out, so can you.
So can you.
And that is my purpose. I found my purpose. I'm a grief coach. So when I coach people, you find so many people, all they want to do is just talk, and then they pay me, right? You know, her death opened doors for me, right? And I used to struggle to celebrate that, to say, I'm a grief coach and I'm helping people. And I got that gift after she died. Should I feel guilty about it or not? But I realized that all those things that I went through, all that shaping and molding and all those things that I went through, the addictions and, you know, changing partners and everything, the people that I'm coaching attempted to do those things. And I'm helping them not to get there, because people need to know where they will be in 5 years. When you lost your partner, your husband, your wife, right? I lost my mother. I grieved for a year. It was fine. But when your DNA mixes as partners, you know, when you lose your partner, it's something else. It's painful. It breaks you. And the only thing that can mend you together is finding your purpose, to know why I lived in that pain.
My next question to you takes me back to a lady friend that I spoke to. And she lost her husband. And she said, what I've realized is that society has a double standard. When it comes to widows, they have expectations to dress this way, to mourn for so long, to do this, but it's not the same with men. What has been the expectations out of you?
When you know, men don't like talking about their emotions when they lost a loved one. So most of my clients would be women, and most of the invites that I would get would be women's conferences, and I would be the only man there speaking about grief, and they would go, so this happens to men too, right? It does happen.
Surprisingly, like a light bulb.
It happens, and people don't know because men don't really generally talk about it. Men move on too quickly and they get married, and when you get married, people expect you to keep quiet in the marriage and not talk about your late wife, and it becomes a problem. But it happens to men too. It happened to me. The accusations, everything. Yeah.
Would you say that you were expected in some way to, you know, not live your life for a certain number of years, or even forsake your life for fatherhood? And I'm asking this because as a single man, there is a price to be paid. Similarly, I would say for a single woman, you know, if I was single back in my days when I was, dating was a consideration. It wasn't just a simple thing to do. There were considerations that there were children involved. And you find yourself at a point where you say, I'd rather not have someone and raise my daughter.
Look, when there's something that happened that I found somebody quicker, and things didn't work out. It was a pain. It was disturbing. It was painful, and And from that moment, I decided that, you know, the moment I'm going to date is when my daughter turns 18. And of course, for a man, that is hard, right? That is difficult. But what happened to her when I didn't ask her permission to talk about it, so my daughter. So I'm not going to talk about it. But what happened to her at that moment made me realize that, you know, sometimes there's, and I say sometimes, quoting it, sometimes it's not a woman that's going to easily love another man's child, another woman's child, you know. And I accepted that, and I decided, you know, I'm going to raise my daughter. I'm going to focus on that. And when she's old enough, then I can go out there. I love marriage. I want to get married again. And I'll do that. I'll get married. And
mentally, where are you now?
now, oh man, now I'm good. I'm good. Like, you know, that 3-year transformation, you know, I thought that meditating was just for other people, was not for Christians. But when I started meditating, I think they
That's you saying that's what you used to think.
yeah, that's what I used to think. But when I started it 3 years ago, on the 9th year, I realized that it helped me a lot. And I think one thing that breaks us the most is that we have less and less sleep because we're thinking too much. So if you clear your head and you're able to sleep, you're able to catch up. So if I can, the first time I slept 8 hours, I woke up the next morning and I was in a good mood. You know, meditation worked for me. I practice that. Even now, I still practice that. You know, if my head is just filled with information, I can't get that information out of my head. Then I can't sleep. Then the next day I'm miserable, right? The important thing is to understand you, get enough rest, and, you know, be aware of who you are, be aware of where you are, be aware of yourself, right? There are people that are living their lives, but they are not aware of where they are, where they want to go, or who they are. The important part is who you are. Yeah.
It's not something that can happen to anybody. Rather, it's something that forms the journey of all of us. Mm-hmm. At some point, I'll lose my spouse. At some point, my spouse will lose me. So what would you say to someone that's facing such a difficulty, having gone through it recently? More so, how do they deal with children?
I think the most important thing is to find you and know who you are. I mean, nobody can find you for you. Find you, know who you are. Try to collect yourself as quickly as you possibly can. And when I say quickly, people always assume that I'm saying get over it quickly. No, I'm saying find you as quickly as possible. Take your time to go through all the stages. If you're angry, allow yourself to be angry. If you're lonely, allow yourself to be lonely. If you feel depressed, allow yourself to be depressed. If you want to cry now, you know, doesn't matter who's there, cry, right? But find you and find yourself quicker, because, you know, if you don't, you're going to sink. And it sinks fast. It sinks really fast. And I grew up, there's an uncle of mine, before we go further, there's an uncle of mine that lost his wife, right? And I think I was 7 at that time, but I was so observant that I realized that before they lost the mother of the house, you know, everything was perfect. They were a family to go to, you know, on holidays we used to go there. My uncle, it was good, perfect example. You know, but when the mother died, my uncle died as well, and he was never able to come back until to his death. And I kept reminding myself of that moment to say, you know what, I don't want to die. I want to come back. Bringing yourself back, that's the difficult part. But you can. You can. And nobody else is going to do it for you. Only you know how you are feeling deep inside. Only know what you are feeling, right? And my last point is find something to live for. If you don't, then you would see life as useless.
Living a life of purpose can help you deal with the grief that you face in your life. It can enable you to rise up every morning with an understanding of the fact that there is a purpose of God in whatever you're going through. Whatever loss you may have suffered, there is always something that is worth you getting up to in the morning. This story, this journey, tonight reminds me that despite the setbacks, the loss of a loved one gives you an opportunity to reclaim yourself. Don't get lost in your grief. Don't jump the stages of your grief. Don't get swallowed and buried with your loved one. Find yourself. Find yourself. And for those of you who have left yourself somewhere, go and fetch your life. I have found myself in the Word of God. And clinical intervention has been also a critical part of my journey in overcoming my mental unwellness. God bless you. Let's step again into your mental space next time, right here on Healing Conversations with Ntabise Mwebe.
Get yourself a copy of our latest books, The Mending of a Broken Vessel and Maintaining Your Joy, a journal for daily positive living. Visit a bookstore near you.